watching Twin Tier Sunday with Jennifer Sheahen.
The morning temperature outside the barracks in Iraq had already reached 100 degrees. Everywhere crumbling, barren earth looked like the surface of a sandy moon. Unrelenting desert sand fleas ate at the soldiers' skin as the men's fear and loneliness ate at their sense of life. Yet a group of soldiers in the barracks worked over a heartfelt project. They folded an American flag into a neat bulky triangle and bundled it carefully with a certificate of appreciation. One of the men, Specialist Kevin Smith, was going home, and he would deliver their gift of thanks. The flag was not for an injured soldier or a missed officer. It was for a tiny, energetic woman named Dawn Pletcher in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, who founded Goodies for Our Troops with residents of Wellsboro's Park Hill Manor in July of 2005. Goodies for Our Troops is a 100% volunteer grassroots effort with the goal of mailing an individually addressed box of goodies as frequently as possible, preferably monthly, to each local service person who has connections to anyone in the Twin Tiers and who is serving the United States overseas in a war zone.
Good morning, Twin Tiers. I'm Jennifer Sheahen. I hope everybody is having a wonderful weekend. What you just heard was an excerpt from the 2008 Mountain Home magazine. I had an opportunity to meet Dawn a few months ago, and being probably the most humble person I've ever met, she made sure her volunteers spoke on camera while she kept busy making packages for the troops. Well, I'm proud and excited to say she joins me on the set today. All right, Dawn Pletcher joins us now. She is the co-founder of Goodies for Our Troops down in Wellsboro. How are you doing this Sunday?
I'm great, and how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Now, I have wanted to learn more about you, learn more about Goodies for Our Troops for a long time, so I'm glad that I finally have this opportunity to have you on the show.
Well, we appreciate you asking, and look forward to talking with the folks about Goodies for Our Troops.
Wonderful. All right, well, why don't we start on how and why did you co-found this organization?
Well, we started in July 2005. At that time, our Wellsboro National Guard, Pennsylvania National Guard, Army National Guard, got deployed to Iraq. And I had moved up to Wellsboro from actually Maryland, and where I had a cell phone store and a lot of military clients that actually got deployed right on September 11th and September 12th. And we had been sending them care packages from the store, and I still had a couple of customers left on my list, but not that many. And I also had some people that I had gotten from anysoldier.com. And I said, gee whiz, you know, maybe we can do this for our guys at the Armory. And so my mother was the president of the Resident Association, Park Hill Manor, where I live, and she lives at that time. And I asked her, and she said, well, you can present it to the people. And there were all these sweet little old ladies. Many of them remembered World War I.
Wow.
They had uncles, brothers in World War I. And most of them called them our boys. Well, we get a girl on the list. At our armory in Wellsboro, there are only males. But a lady that lived right down the hall from me was her mother-in-law, and she said she was from the Lock Haven Armory. Could we put her on our list? And I said, yeah, that'd be awesome, a female. So I said to the ladies, you know, we have a girl too. And they said, oh, well, we'll call her our boys anyway because they're all our boys. Not only that, our first sergeant was like 59 years old. He was hardly a boy, right? But to them, they were always our boys. And God bless those sweet little old ladies, because a whole lot of them now have gone on to heaven, and some of them are in nursing homes. A couple of them are still at Park Hill Manor in their 90s and kicking.
So they were kind of all on board then for this idea.
Right. Yeah, they just backed it 100%. It was wonderful.
Now, you had said that you were out in Maryland in you had your own cell phone store. Now, where was it located?
My cell phone store was located halfway between Andrews Air Force Base and Fort George Meade, Maryland,
so then
on Route 3.
So a lot of your customers were then all of these troops that were there.
Military, yeah.
Military.
Military, police, firefighters, EMTs, We had Nextel, the beep beep. I was a Nextel dealer.
There you go.
And so about probably 95% of my business was military, police, fire.
That's crazy.
A lot of them were kids that, you know, that they were kids like that never had a family. A lot of kids that were foster kids. And a lot of them called me Ma. Some of them called me Graham. And they were all just really, really great. And so
then when 9/11 came, a lot of them were then deployed, right?
yeah, some of them had like a half an hour to get to Andrews on 9/11. And yeah, 9/11 was very, very hard, and it's hard even now to think about 9/11. But then wives were coming in saying, you know, we don't know where he's going, but he's going. And then pretty soon they were coming with addresses saying, you know, if you could send him a card. So my employees took care of everything. I signed the checks, and it was a lot easier. And I ran it through the business. So I think, you know, the good Lord takes care of everything. If I had had any clue what all was involved, I would not probably have done it. I said, oh, that's impossible. There's no way.
Yeah.
But early on, I quit fretting about it and turned it over to the good Lord. And for all these years, He's every month provided what we've needed. And we keep shipping out care packages.
That's wonderful. Do you remember one service member when you were out in Maryland in particular, off the top of your head, that you can tell me about?
Oh, wow. Well, there was one young man that he was very homesick, and I knew that right away. And he would come, we closed at 9, and I always was there, you know, to close. And he would come about 10 minutes to 9 for a new cover for his cell phone or something. And I said, oh, wow, this is going to be a long night, because he just needed someone to talk to. And he was one of the ones that called me Graham. And gosh, he was probably 18 years old, you know, he was just a kid, yeah. And he went to Afghanistan like real early on.
So now you ended up here in Wellsboro.
Yeah, I grew up in Gailton, which is in Potter County, God's country. And I was born at the beginning of, I was born in 43, so early on in World War II in this little town of Gailton. And in Gailton, growing up, one of my very best friends, her uncle was actually killed in World War II. And the Gailton VFW post is named in his memory, Raymond Richer. And Gailton back then was, you know, extremely patriotic. When the guys came back from World War II, one of the things that I always remember about the war, my uncle, my mother's older brother, was in the Army Air Corps. He was a pilot in the Pacific arena, and flew bomber missions. And he came back from the war, and my mother let my brother and me, she got us all dressed up, and we went up to the corner of the hill there and waited for Uncle Fran. And we weren't allowed to cross the street. But he came walking. He had come by a Greyhound bus and then walked. If you knew Gailton, you'd understand. But he walked behind the condensary, and he came up to me and he grabbed me under my arms. And see, I was probably 3 or 4 years old. Threw me up in the air and said, "Look, Dawn, now you're flying just like Uncle Fran." And I always say, I fell in love with a man in a uniform right then, and that's not changed here 60-some years later.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm excited. And coming up after the break, we're going to learn about Dawn's history, where she came from, and learn a little bit more about you, because I know that's something that you don't like to talk about. So we'll see you right after the break.
Twin Tiers Sunday will return in a moment.
Welcome back on this wonderful Sunday. We're here with Dawn Fletcher for Goodies for Our Troops. And now the first half of the show, we were kind of talking about how you got into all of this. Now I want to take the opportunity to learn more about you and where you grew up. So why don't we start with that? Where did you grow up?
Well, like I said, I grew up in Gailton, which is in Potter County, God's country, Pennsylvania. And I grew up, I was born in 1943 during the war. World War II, and I told the story about my uncle and all of that. And Gailton was extremely patriotic. Maybe still is. I'm not there, but we in Gailton at that time, when the guys came back from World War II, Johnny Sullivan started a drill team. And they became national champions. And I have seen a lot of parades in a lot of cities, including a lot of parades in Washington, D.C. in all these 71 years. And I mean to tell you, I have never seen any other group that had the precision that these guys had. It looked like one person. They were fantastic. But money became an issue, and they couldn't raise the money to go to the West Coast for the championship in, I don't know, early 50s, and they still continued to perform around Pennsylvania, but eventually it fell apart. There just wasn't the funding for it. But interestingly, Johnny Sullivan's son, Frank, was on our list for 2 years.
Oh, really?
He was in Afghanistan, his last deployment. He actually became a brigadier general. He's a brigadier general in the Army. He's only the second man in the history of Pennsylvania, second person in the history of Potter County, Pennsylvania, who has achieved that high a rank in the military. And he was born and bred in Gailton, Pennsylvania, which is like this little teeny tiny town. Probably a lot of people maybe know, but a lot of people probably don't know. Yeah, so we're really proud of Frank Sullivan.
Definitely have deeply just rooted in that community then, so I can understand now why you keep with it and why you're so dedicated to this. Now, I had read in the article here that I was telling you guys about earlier that your father worked for the railroad back in 1964, or was that when until 1964?
Oh, until, yeah. And it was before that he became disabled and then started a store. But actually, when I was born, my dad was running out of Buffalo, New York, on the Pennsylvania Railroad. My dad was in the National Guard, and he was in the Wellsboro Armory. But they needed volunteer. They trained him to be a cook down at Indiantown Gap. Okay. They needed volunteers to be firemen on the Pennsylvania Railroad for the war effort. And he volunteered, and that was the old steam engine. He shoveled a lot of coal. Wow. But yeah, and Gailton, I remember when I was a kid going to the Methodist church and down to the basement with my grandmother and my great aunt, and there's all this stuff, and I figured out as an adult that what they were doing was the ladies were wrapping the gauze into rolls for bandages for the war effort, and there would be a bunch of us little kids running around, teeny tiny kids, and they'd yell your name, and then you had to go running and get some of the stuff and take it to them. You know, as you age, when you were a kid, is a lot clearer than it was when you're your age, you know, going through. But yeah, Gailton was an extremely patriotic town, and like I said, I think is probably still is.
Your parents went on to open a grocery store there, is that correct?
Right. They opened a grocery store and a little mom and pop store, and that was long after I was gone. But yeah.
And then, do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have 7 younger brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest. Yeah. My mother always said they practiced on me. By the time they got down to number 8, my little sister Julie, she's perfect.
Oh my goodness. Now, when I had met you the first time, this is a few months ago, you were talking about how you were in airline school.
Oh yeah, I went to airline school in Minneapolis. What did you do? Actually, I worked on the ground. I never was a stewardess. I worked for Lufthansa, German Airlines, when JFK was saying, "Buy American." It was a wonderful job, and I was really privileged to get the kind of training that they gave, but it was way, way too far away.
Where was it located? Where were you?
Minneapolis.
Okay.
And
so
we did 5-state area.
That's great. And do you have any kids?
I do. I have, my daughter is Renee, and my son is Raymond, and I'm very proud of them. And I have 2 wonderful grandkids, Colby and Rachel, and my son-in-law, Kevin. Yeah.
How did you get yourself back to Wellsboro?
Well, because Kevin and Renee lived in Wellsboro. Kevin is a Wellsboro guy, and they live in Wellsboro, and so I wanted to be part of my grandkids' lives when I...
Now, I think it's very interesting, too, that you have set it up so all of the things that you pack and send are not just for people across the country. They're for people right here in the Twin Tiers that are overseas. Why did you choose to do that instead of having it be kind of a national effort?
Well, I think actually it's probably at this point kind of almost a worldwide effort, because we do get donations from all over the place, but the majority of it all comes from the Twin Tiers. And I do have, I want to put in a plug or a thank you to some people here in Elmira. Jim Brown and Barb Brown, I think Jim Brown used to be a cameraman here or something, maybe.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and he's also from Gilton. But they got heard of me through Jim's sister Ruth, and who's younger than me even. They live in Pine City, and their church is the Christian Family Fellowship. And over long years now, Jim and Barb come almost every month down to Wellsboro, and bring all this stuff that the people from Christian Family Fellowship donate. It's been wonderful. And Joe Malillo, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
That's right.
Last month on Friday morning did a thing for Goodies for Our Troops, and the Dobsons heard it as they were getting ready to go out the door. And he is the assistant principal at Facet Elementary School here in Elmira. He went into school, talked to his principal. He made it Goodies for Our Troops Days. The kids made the most fantastic cards. Oh, they're just unbelievable. They brought all these goodies that they had collected. People must have gone out and got them. And they just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people.
See, it's good to hear that we are helping out so much over here. I know Wellsboro is a little bit of ways away, but after the break, we're going to learn on how you can help, what upcoming days are for volunteers. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Twin Tier Sunday will return in a moment.
Welcome back. We're here for our last segment of Twin Tier Sunday with Dawn, and she's doing a great job here. She's telling me about things I just never would have dreamed of. Let me tell you. Dawn, now, I know you've been packing for years now. How many troops are you currently sending to?
We average right around 150 every month. And
wonderful.
we've been doing it. We've only missed 6 times in 8 years and 7 months.
Wow. And what parts of the world are you sending it to now?
Right now, the majority is Afghanistan, but we also have troops deployed in Guantanamo Bay, Guam, Iwo Jima, Japan, South Korea. We have 4 or 5 there. We have 1 in Qatar. We have 1 in United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates, UAE. That is so hard to say.
There you go, much easier.
Let me think, where else do we have them right now? Oh, gosh. I've run out of, I can't remember.
So pretty much it covers a wide range of locations.
Yes.
And for just 100 people, it's spread out across the world. It's just amazing. Now, if people at home want to donate and kind of get things to you, what are you looking for specifically?
Well, we're always looking for goodies, and the number one favorite is homemade fudge, hands down. They say they, in the rock, no matter where they are, they can use homemade fudge like currency. You know, they can trade it for most anything. So, and homemade cookies and marshmallow treats. Cookies, no nuts, no raisins, and no icing because they don't ship well if they have that. So we're always looking for the homemade. But if I always tell people, think about if you were stuck some godforsaken place and there's no store anywhere around, what would you miss? What would you want? And you'll probably be right on no matter what you get because they pretty much, things we take for granted, shampoo,
Yeah.
you know, bath gel, you know.
Deodorant, anything like that. Toothpaste is
Toothpaste, toothbrush.
a big one.
Socks. Socks are really things for their feet. The insoles, foot powder, nice warm boot socks, black or brown. As you mentioned, deodorant. They love Girl Scout cookies, and I don't know about here, but in Pennsylvania it's Girl Scout cookie time.
There we go.
And a lot of the troops are asking people to buy a box of Girl Scout cookies and donate to the troops.
Now, I know that you have to pack this. When I came last time, you have to pack them in a certain way, everything too, just in order to get them to the troops.
Yeah. We do. We take extra precautions. We wrap everything in plastic. Reason being that early on we had a box come back and it was disgusting. It was moldy. It stunk to the high heaven. Nothing in it could have been used. We wrap everything in plastic because you never know if the box on top of you in the container is going to leak down into your box. If it leaks down into our box, they'll still be able to use whatever's in our box.
Yeah.
And a lot of people paid a lot of money and spent a lot of time on it, and the least we can do is get something to them that is usable.
Now, when I was reading this article, I heard something about duct tape being used in extreme amounts to protect things. Is that something that's now being donated, or is that something that you're still looking for as well?
Oh,
Duct
tape. We kind of aren't using duct tape anymore because
really?
we found an answer to we mostly use the duct tape to take two small boxes and wrap them together.
Okay.
We have a lady in Wellsboro, God bless her, that donates all kinds of packaging tape for us, and our post office also, our postmaster gets packaging tape for us. Thank God.
Now, you were telling me during the break about the people out in Corning and how they've been helping you out more than you expected. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
We have two young men on our list who are in Afghanistan right now, and the dad of one of them and the mother of the other one both work at Corning Inc. And the dad lives in Wellsboro, and he and his wife come every Saturday and Sunday of every month that we've had packaging. They always come, and different ones of co-workers and her mom, they all come, and their son's girlfriend, who actually is at Wellsboro High School and going to graduate with my granddaughter Rachel this year, and they're headed to France actually in March. They're all excited. Nice. We're all excited. They come and stay all day Saturday, and from 1 to 6 Saturday and 1 to 6 on Sunday, and then they have brought over the months enormous donations. I mean, just unbelievable. And I always say God is good, and the good Lord has looked down and really blessed this whole thing. And I really, like I said early on, I was so nervous about it, and oh my gosh, there won't be enough money, there won't be enough coding. Yeah. And I just said, like, hey, you hit me with this idea, and now it's yours, and just let me direct me what you want me to do.
No, that's wonderful, and I'm sure our troops across the world appreciate it so much. I mean, it's something that it's known around the Twin Tiers now, but I think it's something that communities across the country could be doing. I know it's a lot of work, but I'm sure that they appreciate every single thing that they get. So if you are looking to want to volunteer or want to set things, We're going to pull up a screen here in just a minute, but you can go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, February 7th, 8th, and 9th from 1 to 6 p.m. It's at 87 Main Street in Wellsboro. It's Main and Crofton is the intersection there. Again, you can donate anything from cookies, beef jerky, deodorant, hygiene items, socks, like we said, anything, an array of items. And you can also find that all this information on WENY.com. I'll have everything listed there. I'll also have it on my Facebook, so like me on Facebook, you'll be able to find everything there as well. Dawn, do you have a link somewhere that people can go to as well?
We also have Facebook, but it's 3 words. It's goodies, and then 4 hour is all one word, and then troops. And we do have the whole list of items and the packaging flyer, and also a lot of mail from the troops that people can read. And just one thing I want to say, I think everybody that's been involved in this, we do what we do to show them how much we appreciate them. And I'll tell you what, when you get these emails and notes from them, you just get so choked up, because they appreciate a granola bar, for heaven's sakes. I mean, how many of us would take the time to write a thank you for a granola bar?
No, that's true. I'm tearing up now with Dawn here. Dawn, thank you so much for coming on. It's such a pleasure. Everybody, enjoy your weekend. Troops, thank you so much. We'll see you next Sunday.